Hey guys! So I ended up cutting this video in half because I just thought it was really long. So I'm just going to jump straight into it, talking about the books and just go into where I left off. So another book is this. Again, I've spoken about this book probably twice now. I spoke about it in my tag video and then the video where I would have done the wrap up about it. So I will not go on about this book for too long. This book is the third in a 4-part series about two girls who are from Naples. And it just follows their lives. The person writing the book is Elena. Her name is Elena, like the author of the book, who's writing a story, I guess, of her friendship with her friend Lena, who has now disappeared. I think they're about the age of 60 at this point, who has now disappeared, and she's just recounting their childhood and all the different things that happened to them. What I liked about this book, I think the most, the more and more I think about it, is the fact that in this book nothing is perfect, but it doesn't feel like it's forced. It doesn't feel like it's meant to be like, here's pain, pain, pain. It is just an accurate, I guess, I don't know this because I'm not from Naples, but an accurate reflection of what life is actually probably like and during the time when this book was written, for girls living in a small, poor place in, like, near Naples. That's what I really like about it. There is no perfect family in here. There is no perfect lives for these girls because they are not middle class, like, you know, girls who are going to, you know, go and work for their dad's company and, you know, earn loads of money. No, they're poor girls, like working class girls, who are going to go and work for their dad, but actually their dad owns like a shoe shop and barely makes any money. So I just like that because I think it's realistic, and I feel like it could be reflected anywhere, not just Naples. But this particular book is to do with the girls when they're at this sort of age of, I guess, about 20 and upwards, maybe just even a bit later than that. And it's focusing on Elena's marriage, her career, how she's developing her career, how she feels stuck in her marriage. It talks a lot about how marriage really confines women, and then she goes on to have an affair. And then it's also talking about her friend Lena, who is leading a complete different life to her. Elena's in Florence. She's the wife of an academic, where her friend Lena is basically single-handedly raising her son and is just basically ruining her fingers, like picking meat off the bone at a sausage factory. So it's just a stark contrast of their two different lives. The book is really hard to encompass, and I've said this before because there are so many stories going on in here. Obviously Elena and Lena, friendship is the forefront, but there is a lot of other stories, and this is also has the backdrop of I guess the communist sort of revolution in Italy. So there's a lot of stories going in there, and just talking about like how different gangs dominate the neighbourhood and things like that. I just really like this book because I thought it was the book where a lot of things happened. It's a book where a lot of things happened for the girls. Their lives changed, they got married, like they had kids. It was just very interesting to see the development of the plot. But I'm really glad I read this series. I finished reading the 2 books this year, and I started reading the other 2 last year. The next book I'm talking about is We Should All Be Feminist. Sounds like I'm reading a lot of literature to do with like feminist stuff, because I have read like Girl Up and then the 2 books that I've sort of talked about, which are to do with like racism and include feminism as well. But this I just read because I've read a lot of Chimanda's books before, but I just haven't read that. And I have seen the TED talk of this, so I think this little essay, I guess, is the full version of her TED talk, or it might be the other way around, I'm not sure. It's basically her talking about her experiences of sexism while she's growing up in Nigeria, and it was just very interesting to see because I come from an African family, and naturally, I say naturally, I shouldn't say that, but yeah, a lot of the things are quite sexist. I probably had to do more than my brothers, and my sister had to do more than my brothers because we were girls, but again, I feel like we probably didn't have to do as much because we were in this country. I was born here, so my parents sort of adapted. But it was still very interesting to see because I think naturally a lot of African families, it is sort of, you know, you do serve your husband. Girls are a sort of second-class citizen, and that's just the way it is. So it was good to read this. She basically talks about sexism through funny stories of her growing up, which I think makes it more accessible to people. And what I liked about it is she says this sort of thing where feminism isn't un-African, because there's this thing that if you, I guess, you identify as a feminist, it's a very Western thing and therefore it's not a very African thing, but really feminism is for everyone. It's not about, oh, by being a feminist now I'm rejecting my African side. No, I'm still an African person, I just want to be treated based on who I am. And yeah, I don't want to be serving my man like I'm some sort of slave. But I think one of the best things she reiterates in this book is that feminism is for everyone, so it's for the equality of sexes. It's for the equality of sexes, and that everyone should be a feminist, not just women, but men should also be a feminist. So I just really liked it because I feel like it's very inclusive, it's very gentle, it's a nice sort of intro into feminism. It's a very basic introduction to feminism, and I think what it does is allow you to explore more about feminism and just doesn't overwhelm you. It does talk about things like gender stereotypes, it talks about rape, it covers a whole load of things that come under feminism, but then from that you're able to sort of think, okay, what is it that I'm more interested in, and then you can go off and research that. I think it's about 50 pages long, so it's really not long at all, but it's very concise, she's very eloquent, and I think by explaining it through her experiences, she really invites the reader to understand more about where she's come from and to understand how she came to the conclusion that she is a feminist, and how, I guess, these experiences have actually shaped her. 2 more books left. Again, these are 2 books that I've already spoken about before so much. The next one is The Terrible by Yrsa Daley-Ward. You guys just know by now that I absolutely love her. I love reading about her life, which is, I feel like that's odd to say because her life is sad in some parts, but it's just very rich, and I feel like the richness of her life, the pain, the happiness sort of carries through to the reader. The Terrible is a part prose, part poetry memoir, and I really, really like it. In her memoir, we follow Yrsa through sort of her childhood up to her teenage years, and then later on into adolescence, and then being an adult. And I guess the themes it covers is like bereavement, depression, loneliness, sex, but also sex work and drugs. So it's basically an account of her family life, her Jamaican mother, her Nigerian father whom she never meets, her little brother Rue, who the book is dedicated to. And I saw her in a talk where she talks about how she wrote so brutally honest in this book, but she had to get her brother to sort of check it over because a lot of it involves him and his life. And it's so funny because she was saying that he was like, add this part in, add that part in. So I thought that was really nice. And then also her grandparents, who are Seventh-day Adventists. I read this book on my Kindle because I just wanted to get my hands on it as soon as it came out, but I think the actual physical copy has a lot of sort of typography in it, so I don't know how I would feel about that because I don't remember seeing any typography in the Kindle. But that's what I mean by when I saw her in person, she talks about how she rarely edits her piece, so a lot of it is just flown out of her head and onto the paper, and then it's not edited. So for me, I found that fantastic. I don't know many people that can write something and it can't be edited so many times before they're like, actually, I'm really happy with this. So I wonder how she introduced the sort of typography into it, and whether or not that was done when she initially started writing it down. But I think that's what I like about her work, the absolute rawness of it, and how I feel like she just sort of does whatever she wants, and the fact that this is a part prose, part poetry piece. Her previous book that I've read is actually a poetry collection, which was really, really awesome. And so if you are interested in poetry and she sounds like someone you might like, I think Bone is definitely something that you would really like. All in all, I absolutely love this, and I love the title as well. The Terrible is a name for depression, which I like that name for it, so yeah, definitely love this. Last book, guys, and it is Everything I Know About Love. Again, I mentioned this in my book tag, freak out mid-year tag video. I don't think I've spoken about it anywhere else, but I absolutely love this book. I said in that video as well, like, I wouldn't have picked this up if it hadn't been given to me as a gift, but I'm so glad it was. Oh, I just love the book. The book is basically an ode to female friendships, which I just love. I'm all about that girl power and that sort of love that you have for your friends and the people that, you know, have stuck with you from day dot. I don't want to talk about this book too much because I actually want to do a full review on it because I just think it's so spectacular. But like Dolly, I have friends, so Dolly is the author of this book. I have friends that I've been friends with for a really long time, and I think if you're a single woman, you can sometimes sort of discount the fact that actually you have had really long-term relationships in your life, and those are the relationships you've had with your friends. And I just liked how this book talked about, you know, that roller coaster that you go through being a single woman, but like how you still have friends that are going through their own stuff, and how your friends are sort of always there for you, even when they're not, because one of the main topics of this is one of her friends getting into a long-term relationship and how she feels about that. So many things happen in this book, but I just liked how she wrote about her jealousy in this really brutally honest way. I think it's very, very brave to do something like that because a lot of the times people are just going to paint you as bitter, but I think she's had some time to do some reflection, so she's able to sort of look at it and sort of say, yes, actually I probably was a bit shitty towards my friend. The book is basically a memoir. I think Dolly's only 8:29. So very interesting to do a sort of like memoir at this time in your life, but also very good. And it just contains like also recipes, some advice. She's put in here some really funny text messages, which I found absolutely hilarious. So it's just a sort of amalgamation of different things, but most of it is a memoir. And in this memoir it contains, I guess, her sort of navigating through university. She doesn't really talk a lot about her career here, but I think she's got quite an exciting career path that she's led to get to where she is right now. She talks about like eating disorders, depression, living with girls, you know, how it feels when some of your friends like move out and leave you, really drunken nights out. It basically contains everything. It's very witty, it's very funny. It's so funny though, because I read this and it does have like those middle class vibes to it, but I still really enjoy it. I think she's a really down to earth girl and it comes through in the book. She's really able to laugh at herself, and I think that's one of the main things that people need to realise. You have to be able to laugh at yourselves and all the disastrous things that happen to you. Basically, I think this book is absolutely hilarious. I actually just want to like sort of gone back in time to a place where I haven't read it, and so just so I can read it again. I definitely will read this again because it makes me laugh and I obviously really enjoy it, but I encourage people to pick this up. Yeah, I think I just have the brutal honesty of this. I need more of this, but this was a very nice sort of easy read. You'll get through this in like a day or two if you give it some time. Thank you for watching that. So that is the end of the video. I appreciate this is probably a bit long, but I'm just really happy to get it out the way so now I can start talking about books that I am currently reading. But it was also really nice to take a look back at the books that I've read. I'm definitely going to be reading Let Them Eat Chaos. I did start listening to it on Spotify, and again, like I said in there, I'm not really a fan of how her voice sounds. I feel awful saying that, but it's just personal preference. But oh, definitely gonna have to revisit that book because I think it just gave me all the feels. Definitely gonna read Little Black Book again because I need it in terms of just career help. And yeah, I'm intrigued to see what I'm gonna enjoy towards the next half of the year, and whether I'm gonna pick up any more sort of like feminist literature or anything like that, because it does seem like a lot of my faves were in that sort of area. But anyway, please do not forget to like this video if you did. If you would like to talk about any of the books, just leave me a comment below. I'll be sure to respond. And I will see you in my next video, which is more than likely going to be my July wrap-up video. The struggle I'm having filming that video is very, very real, but it will be up. I will see you in my next one. Goodbye.